Well, here we go, swizzlesteve.com, another podcast. Joining me today is my good friend Mike Murphy. He just put out a movie called What in the World Are They Spraying? And for some of you listening to this, if you've met me and talked to me, I talk a lot about things I'm seeing up in the sky that I always start off the conversation by saying, hey man, this might sound crazy to you if I bring this up, but it is a very big issue. It's happening. Thank God Michael Murphy put this movie out, and just talk to us a little bit about it, but talk to people that probably have no idea the difference between a chemtrail and a contrail. Maybe start there.
Sure. Well, What in the World Are They Spraying is an investigative documentary about the issue of geoengineering, also commonly called the chemtrail issue. And the difference between a contrail and a chemtrail: when an airplane flies at a certain elevation, a small vapor trail behind it can be seen. It's very similar to when we breathe in cold air, and that vapor trail usually dissipates in about 4 to 5 seconds. Very similar, again, to when we breathe in cold weather. A chemtrail, or trails from geoengineering programs, is literally a trail that can be seen emitted from an aircraft, usually seen from horizon to horizon. And what geoengineers proposed, and we have this in the film, was actually spraying different chemicals and particulates out of an airplane to create artificial clouds. And that's exactly what we've been seeing for about the past 10 or 15 years. These long trails that eventually fall down and spread out. So we not only investigate that, but we look at various patents that are related, and there are many patents that have been developed for apparatuses of spraying these aerosols out of airplanes. And we also look at geoengineers' models, their proposals, and then fallout of what they have been proposing and what matches the patent. There's literally toxic fallout from these programs that's being found around the world.
And that, and we just got done watching the movie, and now we're recording, and my head is spinning. But one of the things we did see in the movie, and like you're talking about, is there was organic farmers, you know, people with PhDs, and they're explaining the soil levels are not right. The trees, we saw coconut trees where the bark was sort of peeling away, and the silver bark. But the big main thing is the aluminum levels, the barium levels, and the one I always say wrong,
strontium.
The strontium levels.
Well, that's exactly correct. And after we went to a geoengineering conference, I was asked to come in and investigate Northern California, and people up in that area are seeing everything die. The forests are dying, natural organic farms are dying, and they started to question. So they started testing the pH of the soils, and what they found was that the pH was increasing a minimum of 10 times the normal pH, up as high as 12 times the normal pH. So the scientists up there started looking into this issue more deeply, and began testing the rain, snow, and the soil. And what they found was amazing, because they found very high amounts of aluminum, barium, and again, strontium. These three substances will increase the pH of soils. So remarkably enough, you know, we spoke about geoengineers' proposals. They have proposed spraying 10 to 20 million tons of toxic aluminum into the atmosphere, exactly what we're seeing. There are many patents. One is commonly referred to as the Welsbach patent, that was developed to spray aerosol aluminum. Aluminum is actually in this patent. And then again, what we're seeing matches geoengineers' plans, the patents, and the fallout. Exactly. Okay. So, devastation.
So from my background too, just to back it up a little bit, I got interested and involved in just doing things like a podcast because I saw a lot going on, whether it be 9/11, chemtrailing, Agenda 21, which all these things tie in, all these different issues that are huge issues that you don't see covered in mainstream media. And that's why people like me find it important to go buy this new microphone, sit down with you, record these things, and put them out there. So just to take it a few steps backwards before we start getting into geoengineering and the scientists and what they're saying, to bring this down to just a day-to-day level where normal human beings can just think about this, I want people to know that when I'm walking down in the street in Chicago and I look up and I can clearly see planes at the same altitude, some leaving contrails and some leaving chemtrails, that I know I don't need any other proof but looking up and understanding that something is wrong, something isn't right. So what I'm doing by this podcast is I don't want to debate if chemtrails exist. That's not what this is about. That's not what your movie's about. So if you're listening to this and you don't know what's going on, maybe pause it right now and look up chemtrails and contrails, or maybe explain to people, because after just getting done watching the movie, I now see it as one of those programs where a bunch of scientists, all these geoengineers, explain what they might do, putting my fictitious quotation marks up, what they might do, whereas all of the proof with the aluminum, barium, strontium levels that we're seeing that's coming out, that is giving us the proof that what they're saying they might do, they already do.
Well, that's exactly correct. And we've seen that numerous times from government entities and these corporate entities. If anybody has questions, we do have a trailer up, so just Google what in the world are they spraying. You can click on the YouTube trailer to get some more information. But exactly, when I address this to geoengineers, they blatantly deny that these programs
Explain that. Explain in the movie where you were and who these people were. Talking. This is it's huge. It's amazing what you know.
Well, yeah, it started in San Diego, California, at the American Association for the Advancement of Science conference, and geoengineers proposed their models of spraying 10 to 20 million tons of toxic aluminum into the sky for what they said was the stated goal of cooling the planet. And again, we have had reports from around the world of people who believe that these programs have been ongoing for about 10 to 15 years, which, of course, through our investigation, we conclusively proved that these programs have been ongoing, but remarkable.
And like I was alluding to, is you could sit around all day and debate, is it a chemtrail? Is it a contrail? What is it? We have to get beyond that and already just say, look, things are going on. What is happening? Why is it happening? And we talked about Vocalo.org popped in my head when I did a radio thing with them, and I knew we were gonna talk about chemtrails and what was going on. And they only wanted the debate to be, is there chemtrails in the sky? And we just have to get beyond that because they're up there. And the first thing I did was say, all right, if I could bring up any type of legislation, and I'm so glad you covered it in the movie. So I think it was 96 when Kucinich wrote the word chemtrails in the bill.
Yeah, it was actually the Space Preservation Act, and it was in 2000, right after September 11th. And Dennis Kucinich actually did write chemtrails. Later on, that was removed from the bill, and the bill did not pass. I know we had a lot of challenges. A couple family members passed away during that year in weird circumstances. So, these programs are multi-billion, if not trillion-dollar operations. They're illegal. And they're killing people because aluminum's very toxic. Barium lowers our immune system, but we've seen, in some cases, up to 200% increase in the past 10 years of aluminum-related illness. Yeah. These things are black programs, and they're illegal. So, what you said I thought was incredible, because you're saying these people want the debate to be, do chemtrails exist or not? That's exactly what these people who are behind the programs want. They want us to debate that. But we prove conclusively that they do exist, and they're a threat to both human health and ecology. They're tremendous threats.
And another character in the movie, and like I said before we hit record, when we were talking before we started the podcast, I said, man, you drove around, you did this just like it flows like an amazing movie. The characters you get developed in, you want to know their story, you want to know about them. Talk a little bit about the family in Hawaii, living on an organic farm. It doesn't get more natural than that. And talk about their daughter, what was going on with her.
Sounds good. Well, we spent a week filming on an organic part of Maui, Hawaii, and totally off the grid. And for the first time, I lived completely natural as I believe God created.
Folks,
there were no
if you're
stores
in the freedom movement, this is where you want to be.
Yes,
it's where you want to be.
And we walked around naked a lot, so it was a very, very free.
Nice.
It was very cool.
That wasn't in the movie.
That wasn't. Well, actually, it was, but we had to cut it. Yeah, there was some nudity.
Some
I
okay.
had interviewed, and one of the ladies there stripped down buck naked during the interview. So very interesting. Anyways, it gave it that freedom touch. But for the first time,
You're in that place.
I'm in that place. I'm picking my lunch off of the trees. These people have complete freedom. They work about 3 hours, on the farm, and they have this beautiful lifestyle, some that I've always admired, but they're starting to see die off. They're not getting the fruit produced that they used to. And the coconut trees, are dying. Why? Because they're getting chemtrailed.